Port Charles is gripped by an unprecedented winter crisis, one that transcends the physical dangers of a blizzard. A missing child, a desperate search through whiteout conditions, and a shocking discovery that tests the limits of human compassion formed the emotional core of General Hospital's latest storyline. As Nathan West and Lulu Spencer venture into the dangerous winter weather to find Charlotte Cassadine, viewers witness a narrative arc that explores the thin line between hope and despair, between the desire to save a child and the harsh reality of mortality itself. The circumstances surrounding Charlotte's disappearance are deeply troubling. Despite citywide orders to shelter in place due to the devastating blizzard, Charlotte had slipped away from her guardians. Desperate for answers and terrified for her safety, Valentine Cassadine found himself restrained by Carly, who recognized that his emotional state would only cloud his judgment in rescue operations. It would be Lulu Spencer who, filled with maternal instinct and deep concern for the young girl she had come to care for, would turn to Nathan West for assistance. Nathan, a seasoned officer of the law, understood the dangers of the weather, but also recognized the critical window of opportunity. When a child goes missing, every minute counts. When temperatures are dropping and visibility is nearly zero, the dangerous journey into the white abyss. The decision to launch a search operation during such extreme weather conditions demonstrates the desperation of the situation. Police protocol might normally restrict such operations, but the life of a child transcends bureaucratic procedures. Nathan and Lulu's patrol car became their vessel through a landscape transformed into an alien terrain of white. The roads, normally familiar routes through Port Charles, became treacherous pathways where danger lurked around every corner. The information about Charlotte potentially hiding at Drew Kane's old property provided a thread of hope, a destination, however uncertain. Perhaps she had fled there seeking refuge, or perhaps she had misunderstood something and believed that location held safety for her. With this lead, Nathan and Lulu pressed forward, their determination fueled by the fear that grips any person when a child is in danger. The engine of their patrol car was their lifeline, a mobile sanctuary in an increasingly hostile environment. The weather worsened with each passing moment. The snow that had been falling steadily transformed into something more ominous, a complete erasure of visibility. A wall of white that challenged their ability to navigate. The car's headlights cut through the darkness and snow like weak beams against an overwhelming force. Every sound became amplified in their heightened state of alert. Every shape in the snow could be something significant or nothing at all. This is the psychological torment of a rescue operation, the constant oscillation between hope and dread, between the possibility that the next turn in the road might reveal the missing child and the creeping fear that each moment of searching is a moment in which danger tightens its grip. The horrifying discovery. What began as a search mission took a devastating turn when Nathan's trained eye caught something amiss along the roadside. What appeared to be an accumulation of snow-covered debris proved to be something infinitely more tragic. A vehicular accident had occurred catastrophic enough to claim lives, and the snow had conspired with time to bury the wreckage. Emergency responders' worst fears were realized. The passengers of this hidden vehicle had been trapped, unable to call for help, unable to escape the cold that would have slowly claimed their lives in the darkness. The discovery strikes at the heart of every rescue worker's nightmare, arriving too late. The two bodies recovered from the wreckage represented not only a personal tragedy but also a profound failure of circumstance. They had been there hidden by the storm, unreachable by help, subject to the relentless cold that does not discriminate between the innocent and the guilty, the young and the old. The deceased would never receive emergency medical attention. They would never have the chance that proper medical intervention could have provided. They died alone in the snow, victims of a disaster compounded by nature's cruelty and human fragility. This discovery transformed Nathan West's focused determination into something more complex. As a law enforcement professional, he had been trained to compartmentalize, to separate the emotional response from the operational necessity. Yet no amount of training fully prepares a person for the visceral impact of discovering hidden death, particularly when engaged in a mission to save a child's life. The bodies in the wreckage became a mirror reflecting Lulu's deepest fear, the psychological unraveling. The impact on Lulu Spencer was immediate and devastating. The discovery of the accident victims wasn't an abstract tragedy, it was a tangible, horrifying possibility for Charlotte. If a vehicle could be hidden by the snow, if bodies could be buried so completely that rescue became impossible. Then Charlotte, too, could be somewhere in this frozen landscape suffering from cold that would slowly claim her life, undiscovered and unreachable. The emotional collapse that followed was not a weakness, but a human response to the convergence of horror and maternal fear. Lulu's professional composure, the fortitude that had allowed her to venture into dangerous conditions, shattered in the face of this concrete evidence that the blizzard was not a mere inconvenience, but an active killer. The images of the victims, people who had been trapped suffering, dying without help, became inseparable from her imagination of what might be happening to Charlotte at that very moment. Her breakdown was visible, audible, and undeniable. For Nathan West, observing this transformation and his partner became his new mission. As the field officer, he understood that the rescue operation had entered a new phase 1, in which managing Lulu's emotional state became as critical as the physical. Search for Charlotte. The weight of responsibility shifted. He was not only searching for a missing child, but also managing the psychological crisis of an adult who had glimpsed the darkness that blizzard conditions could impose. Nathan's determination and promise. Nathan West's response to Lulu's emotional breakdown reveals the depth of his character and his understanding of what the moment required. Rather than dismissing her fears as illogical or attempting to minimize the tragedy they had just witnessed, Nathan recognized that her fear was grounded in legitimate concern. Charlotte was indeed out there somewhere. The blizzard was indeed capable of the destruction they had just discovered. But Nathan also understood something more profound, that hope, however fragile, was the only antidote to despair in such circumstances. His assurances to Lulu were not empty platitudes, but commitments made in the face of overwhelming odds. He promised that they would find Charlotte. More importantly, he promised that they would find her alive, that they would deliver her to safety before the storm could claim another victim. These promises were spoken not as guarantees, for no one could truly guarantee such outcomes against the forces of nature, but as commitments to effort, to persistence, to the refusal to surrender to the darkness. The calming influence Nathan provided operated on multiple levels. At the practical level, his confidence in his professional abilities and his navigational skills offered tangible assurance. At the emotional level, his steady presence provided an anchor for Lulu in her moment of crisis. At the moral level, his commitment to the rescue reaffirmed the principle that even in the face of terrible odds, human beings have an obligation to struggle, to fight, to persist in the defense of the innocent. The broader significance. This storyline resonates with audiences for reasons that transcend the immediate drama of a missing child and a winter storm. It speaks to fundamental human anxieties, the vulnerability of children in an indifferent universe, the fragility of life in the face of natural forces, and the question of whether individual effort and determination can make a meaningful difference in the face of such overwhelming challenges. The discovery of the accident victims raises uncomfortable questions about privilege and randomness. How many other tragedies are hidden in snow, unobserved and unremarked? How many people die in ways that no one witnesses? That receive no search and rescue operation? That generate no media coverage? The contrast between Charlotte's situation, where her disappearance triggers a police investigation, and a dangerous rescue mission in a blizzard, and the unknown's deaths in the buried vehicle underscores the arbitrary nature of who receives help and who remains forgotten. For Lulu Spencer specifically, this experience carries particular weight. As a woman who has navigated complex family dynamics and who cares deeply for those in her orbit, the possibility of losing Charlotte represents more than the loss of a child. It represents the loss of a particular version of herself, a self defined by her capacity to protect and nurture. Nathan West's promise to deliver Charlotte safely becomes, in this context, a reaffirmation that love and determination still matter. That human connection and commitment can withstand even the most destructive natural forces. Conclusion: faith in the face of the storm. As Nathan and Lulu continue their search through the blizzard, they carry with them the weight of the discovery they have made and the fear that discovery has crystallized. They also carry Nathan's promise, a commitment that speaks to the human capacity for hope even in the darkest circumstances. Whether Charlotte is found safely, whether the promise is kept, viewers await with bated breath. But regardless of outcome, this moment has already transformed. Both Nathan and Lulu has already tested their limits, and in testing them, has revealed dimensions of character that crisis alone can expose. The blizzard continues to fall on Port Charles, indifferent to human struggles and human hopes. But within that indifference, two people search, driven by love, guided by determination, and sustained by the fragile hope that one small child will be returned safely to those who love her before the storm claims any more victims.